Milk Bar TV, Nathan Livingston posted a side-by-side comparison between Robin DiAngelo, part of the woke left, and the whole oppressive nature of racial inequalities and things of that particular side of things. And then you have Candace Owens on the woke right, talking about how the Jews are literally responsible for everything, oppressing everyone in society, and you name it. And while it is a rather interesting comparison when you look at it from side by side, you got Robin DiAngelo talking about, obviously, she's a white woman, talking about how you need to be feeling like you are a victim, basically blaming white people for all the problems of the world, basically blaming white people for racism, for oppression, and you name it. So if you are white, you are a problem. And Candace Owens on the right, she's picked up a small group of people in the Middle East known as the Jews. There's about 7 million of them, right? Not that many. And there's also a particular sect called Frankists. They didn't necessarily espouse to the normal Judaism religious things. The Frankists were an actual cult, believe it or not. So the Frankists formed in the 18th, 19th century. They're a Sabbatine religious movement founded by Jacob Frank, who rejected Jewish norms and embraced anti-Normanism. Frankists believed in transgressing moral boundaries and engaged in sexually promiscuous rituals. Essentially, it was a pretty weird cult of sorts. Now, you can say that they were Jews or just people that wanted to have a little bit of fun in public or even in the bedroom. Let's just go along those lines. But the movement only gained around 50,000 followers in Central and Eastern Europe. Now, you'll see in the video in just a moment that Candace blames the fall of Christianity all across the world on the Frankists. So apparently, the fall of Christianity, not because of the Ottoman Empire trying to remove Christians and the Jews and you name it from the Holy Land, not that empire, can't be them, can't be any of the Muslims that want Christians gone, and it's actually in their bloody Quran. No, it's the Jews, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Jews, the Frankists. They're all responsible for the downfall of Christianity. They're all responsible for everything that is wrong, everything negative in society. It's apparently this small group in the Middle East that is surrounded by Muslims, and now Muslims are starting to blame the Jews for the things that they are actually doing. That's amazing to me. It's just like suicidal empathy, as Gad Saad talks about. People just latching onto this idea that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and then they'll be given these major platforms to spread it around. Anyway, have a watch of this side-by-side comparison, and we'll make a couple of important points.
I now understand racism as a system, as a deeply embedded system, a system that our country was founded on.
Sigmund Freud was the kingdom of Galicia. His family's from, he's a Galician Jew. And they come over to America, and kind of the story that we're told is, oh, everyone just came with the clothes in their back and then like made it big in Hollywood or made it big in modern psychology. And I'm like, no, America was a young country. We were very like susceptible to all of these things.
And every institution reinforces this system.
Frankists were behind the French Revolution. The Frankists were behind the Russian Revolution. Okay, it was the Frankists who believed in this, who orchestrated wanting to bring down Christian empires. And it is the Frankists who are bringing down America.
Refusing to grapple with how race shapes virtually everything is what keeps us divided.
I think this is the reason why we don't get to open the Epstein files, we don't get to open the JFK files. Other countries too, you investigate anything. I mean, I'm investigating Brigitte Macron, and Israeli blackmail comes up in Morocco. Also the MAGA movement. It sort of feels like they're doing the bare minimum for Americans and what we actually put them in office for, and then doing the absolute maximum for like Bibi Netanyahu's entire agenda. But once again, we're left feeling like this is just a slave colony.
And these white employees took great umbrage at having to have diversity training. And they were incredibly hostile, incredibly resistant, right? It's so scripted, right? It's so predictable what they're going to say and how they're going to respond.
I cannot stand The people that sound like bots, the spineless cowards, and I'm calling out all of you men, everybody who has a check mark and also has a penis and has not said anything about Israel protecting pedophiles or has said the statement like, our friend and ally.
I've had people tell me, well, the term itself is offensive, and which is perfect. It's classic white fragility, right? To name whiteness, right, is really problematic for a lot of people.
Every person who speaks about Israel has to basically say a statement that's like, I don't want to get killed. like literally, you start speaking about it, people are like, Candace, beef up your security. That's not fucking normal. Like, excuse my language, but like that is not normal.
Candace thinks that it's the Frankists that are bringing down Christianity in America today. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if there are any Frankists out there, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're still around or still practicing. I thought the cult was done away with a long time ago, but according to Candace, it still is thriving. And it has nothing to do with the woke left. It's got nothing to do with the new religions that are coming out. Obviously, worship of self, pride, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. None of those things that are going on in our world today. It's got nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with this. Focuses heavily on critical race theory, on gender ideology, on all those things, right? Which is what Robin DiAngelo was talking about. So that has nothing to do with the downfall of Christianity. To Candace Owens, it's all the Frankists' fault for the downfall of Christianity in America at the moment. Doesn't that sound ludicrous to you? Like, she doesn't know her history. She hasn't looked too far around her to notice there are other things that are going on that have got nothing to do with the Jews. You know what's not normal? Saying things like everything negative in the world is the Jews' fault. She's saying, I was investigating Brigitte Macron, thinking that Brigitte Macron is a man, and she's found blackmail in Morocco. Jews again. Why can't we open and really find out who killed JFK? Why can't we have the Epstein files? And the list goes on and on and on. It's not just Candace Owens, it's Dave Smith, for example, who said this. Yes, I've talked MMA with Joe countless times on and off the podcast. Daryl Cooper objectively has light years more expertise on the subject of Israel, Palestine than Douglas and Barry put together. Now, let me get this straight. The Joe Rogan had on Dave Smith and Douglas Murray recently, and Douglas called out Joe and Dave for basically spouting nonsense and having non-experts and people that don't know what they're talking about on the show, and they're given a major platform. You guys know. And Douglas raised the point of Joe would never have Dave on to talk about MMA for a sole episode. He would actually have an expert, a professional that knows what he's talking about on to talk about MMA because it's one of Joe's favorite things, right? So when it comes to Israel and Palestine and the conflict that's going on there, why is it that you've got these pseudo-historians and these people who've got no idea what they're talking about? So Dave going objectively, Daryl has objectively light years more expertise. Love the language there, Dave. Absolutely love it. And this is what the woke right do very, very well. They manipulate the language to make it sound great, but in reality, it is very dangerous. The manipulation suits their own agenda against usually Israel. Candace is doing it. Dave is doing it, even though Dave, you wouldn't consider him to be on the right at all, but he's more libertarian. But there's Tucker. There's countless people at the moment. They're all given major platforms, and somehow people listen to them because what they're saying is really provocative, isn't it? But it's interesting when you've got Robin DiAngelo talking about white fragility, blaming white people for all the ills, all the problems of modern day society. And then you have Candace Owens, the woke right, blaming the Jews for all the problems in society. Like you're blaming one particular race for everything. And that's a problem. There's no difference in the argument, people. They're just choosing to blame a different race. It's nonsense, if you ask me. It just completely disregards all sense of critical thinking at all. There's none. It's they're doing it to further their agenda of hate. It's not good. There's a difference between you should not talk about that versus you shouldn't talk about that. You can't. You're not allowed to. You should not talk about things that you got no idea anything about. Doesn't mean you can't, versus we're going to stop you from talking about those things. That infringes on freedom of speech. And I've always said, just because you have the power to either say something or do something doesn't mean that you should. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.